Did you watch it to know?
I watched the first episode.
Damn, is that from the first episode?
I got the tweeting after the first episode. What the f*** did I just watch? Really? This what we gonna fucking get on TV and woo about? And I didn't like that, bro.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Dumebi. If this is your first time, you're welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So today, let's just talk about this whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing. Netflix released a series in September 2022, that is this year, about the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, also called the Milwaukee Cannibal. Everybody has been talking about it. Some people want to boycott it, and some people have been, giving reviews. I, for one, had to watch it because, number one, I'm actually a true crime junkie. Yes, I said it. I'm one of those people who binge watch true crime content on YouTube, but basically not reenactments, just, people who sit down and tell true crime stories. And so when this one dropped, I know I had heard about Jeffrey Dahmer before. I couldn't even remember the story, so I had to watch it again because I felt, okay, this is the kind of content that normally I watch people talk about on YouTube, so I have to watch it, to see the whole thing reenacted by real life human beings. And I have to tell you guys, I was not prepared. I was not prepared because listening to someone talk about something is different from actually watching a reenaction of it happen, watching the whole thing dramatized, watching it look so real, seeing the humanity and the inhumanity, the whole violence and, the killings and all of that. It's so different, but I had to finish it. It took me a while. I actually finished watching it yesterday. I watched it for a period of about 2 weeks, and this is just something that's just 10 episodes. So that was how much I had to pause in between to recharge and, just think happy thoughts and distract myself before I went back to continue watching it. So eventually I have finished it, and I now understand why some people, particularly people of color, were not happy about this Netflix series being released, and how some of the families of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims have come out to talk about how they are not in support of this Netflix series. And it turns out that they were not even informed prior to its release that anything like that was even coming out. They didn't know about this whole Netflix thing until it dropped. So they found out like the rest of us. And it's so sad because, it's personal for them. They lost family members to this particular serial killer.
Hey, come on, bro. Compensate these people, fam.
Yeah, that's real.
Netflix got enough money to say, this whole movie go to all these victims' family.
That's true. Damn,
you already got to subscribe.
I ain't looking at it like that. I ain't looking at it like that.
So, for those of you who don't really know much about Jeffrey Dahmer, he basically was a serial killer in the 1980s. He did this whole serial killing for a period of 13 years, from 1978 to 1991. He's a white man, and his victims, we know about 17 victims. Those are the ones that we know that are confirmed. I don't know if it might be more than that, but yeah, he says he had 17 victims, most of which were people of color. So I think that is where it really rubbed people of color the wrong way, specifically black people. I have to say that from the story, the way that I watched it and everything, there were several times where this man could have been caught. There were several opportunities. But I think one of the reasons why Jeffrey Dahmer was able to go on for a whole 13 years doing this whole thing was kind of like, the police had a very huge role to play. I feel like the police could have done much better, and probably he wouldn't have, taken the lives of as many people as he was able to. Jeffrey Dahmer actually started killing at a young age. He did it at his father's house, he did it at his grandmother's house, and then he did it at his own apartment, which he eventually got. I don't know if I mentioned earlier that he was gay. Yes, Jeffrey Dahmer was gay. He was interested in men. So he used to pick up men at bars, at the mall, different places. Sometimes he offers them money to pose for him, like for him to take photographs of them so they follow him home. So he even brought some of them to his grandmother's house, and he murdered them right under her roof. And eventually she had to kick him out and all of that. And then he got his own apartment. So his own apartment was where majority of the murders happened. He killed a total of 11 people. people. Once he was able to lure them to his house, maybe for sex or for them to come and pose for him in court, of course, we know that was not his intention. So when he got to his place, he would drug them like with drinks. He would give them drinks that were drugged. And then when they were weak or when they were disoriented or passed out, he would strangle them. And then he would actually, I can't even say this. He would actually have sex with their dead bodies, dismember them and cannibalize them. So eventually he was caught when one of his supposed victims to be, Tracy Edwards, actually escaped and then alerted the police and dragged them back to Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment. So that was how he was exposed, because the police now entered his house and saw everything. And I have to say, shout out to Evan Peters. He was the person who played the role of Jeffrey Dahmer and he killed it. That guy is super talented. How do I know he did well? Because I was so angry at him watching it that at some point I wanted to just go into the movie and him. He was that believable. So that is just a brief summary of the whole life and crime of Jeffrey Dahmer. So now I want to talk about how people are beginning to idolize evil. Like, I was appalled to go on Twitter and see people actually talk about how cute Jeffrey Dahmer is, how what Jeffrey Dahmer did doesn't matter.
Just a huge Jeffrey Dahmer fan.
Exactly.
You know,
that's the thing.
I can't help it. I'm like,
people are tweeting about this shit, dude. I honestly wonder, like
I'm watching it and like, I don't want Jeffrey to get caught. Like, there's moments
so
when he's about to, I'm like, no, like, don't.
Every time he turns around, I kind of get that feeling, no, you know?
But yet you're fascinated by him.
Very.
I'm not afraid of him. He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody.
I know that he's a nice person because I've met him and I know.
He's convicted of 13 murders.
I know.
And people want to actually dress up as Jeffrey Dahmer for Halloween. You guys know this is October. Halloween is just right around the corner. And they want to make Jeffrey Dahmer into an actual Halloween costume. No, not even they want to. It is actually happening already. So at this point, some of the victims' families are coming out to talk about how it's offensive that they're making him into a whole Halloween costume. You know, they're talking about how people should boycott it. No one should wear the costumes. Black people specifically are not having it, and I totally am in agreement. But you see people coming out to defend it, like there are a lot of Halloween costumes already of other serial killers or other killers in horror movies and stuff like that. But a lot of people didn't even know who Jeffrey Dahmer was until the Netflix series. And it now begs the question, is this Netflix series doing more good than harm? I particularly saw the Netflix series. I like to educate myself on stuff like that, apart from the weird interest that I have in true crime. But I would not watch it and then begin to idolize this person. I would not watch it and then begin to feel like, oh, I want to keep this person's memory alive. Like, this person is evil. They took lives. They hurt people. They destroyed families. I don't know why he's being idolized, but people are crazy. Like, even in the Netflix series, when Jeffrey Dahmer was put in jail, he actually used to get fan mail. He used to get letters from fans. He had fans outside. They would tell him how they love him, how they idolize him. They would even send him money. It was crazy to the point that he was selling his autographs from prison. So it's obvious people have been crazy right from back then when Jeffrey Dahmer was still alive in the 90s, and they're still crazy right now. So I'm not really surprised, but that doesn't make it any less disgusting that people want to idolize this man that was so evil, that was so vile, that took lives in the way that he did. And actually, people think because most of his victims were people of color that he was racist, but I have a contrary opinion. Now, you guys, just listen, please. I know some of you might not agree with what I'm about to say, but I feel he targeted people of color because those were the easiest for him to get away with. You know, during the era of the whole Jeffrey Dahmer murders, that's from 1978 to 1991 when he was eventually caught, you know, but that was a period when racism was, I feel like it was worse back then. So Jeffrey Dahmer was very calculative. He made sure that he got an apartment in a black neighborhood. The Oxford apartment building in Milwaukee, where he lived and committed 11 murders and was eventually caught, was located in a poor, predominantly black area. It had 1-bedroom flats. It had very high crime rates. It had very low and affordable rent. And that was where he decided to stay, because he knew that the police didn't really care about such neighborhoods. He knew that basically he could get away with a lot of things. And if you talk about criminals basically target people that they know they can easily get away with. So I think that was why he actually targeted people of color. I don't think it was racially motivated. Then another thing that actually might have made his whole serial killing spree even worse was the homophobia during that time. I remember in one of the scenes in the Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix series where, there was a time where he had a 14-year-old victim. I think that's his youngest victim. And the boy was drugged and bloodied and all of that. And then the boy was able to actually stagger out of Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment because Jeffrey Dahmer went out to get something or so. And then one of Jeffrey Dahmer's neighbor, I think it was played by Niecy Nash. I love Niecy, by the way. She found him seated outside and she was trying to talk to him like, little boy, what's going on? Are you okay? And he wasn't saying anything. And she called the police, and the police came. Jeffrey Dahmer came and lied that the boy wasn't 14. He lied about the boy's age, saying the boy was 18 or 19, lying that the boy was legal, and then he lied that the boy was his gay partner. And then Niecy Nash was trying to say this boy doesn't look okay, that the police should investigate further. Maybe they should ask to see the boy's ID or something to be sure that because the boy looked really young. But the police, immediately they heard gay partner, I think the homophobia sets in, and they did not even want to investigate any further. They just allowed Jeffrey take the boy back into the apartment, and eventually he was murdered. So definitely homophobia played a role. Another episode that struck me, it hit a nerve, I shed tears, was the episode where they showed, where they talked about Tony Hughes. Tony Hughes was a deaf victim of Jeffrey Dahmer, and it was so sad because they made you see, there's something about just hearing about the victim, and there's something about you seeing the victim, seeing the way they relate with their family, seeing them laugh, seeing them smile, seeing them talking about their dreams, their hopes. It makes you realize this was a real person, not just a victim. They even talked about one of Tony Hughes' other gay friend that was murdered. And at that moment, I was struck by how hard it is. Number one, being black in that era where racism was more predominant then. And then not only being black, being gay. You're black and then you're gay. That's like 2 strikes against you. So nobody is going to even bother to investigate when you go missing. And all the phone calls that Jeffrey Dahmer's neighbor, that was Glenda, the character that was played by Niecy Nash, all the phone calls she made reporting the strange, weird smells of decaying bodies that were coming in to her apartment from Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, and then all the sounds of the victims when they were being killed and butchered and strangled by Jeffrey Dahmer. She made several calls, but the police ignored her because, of course, they knew it was a black neighborhood, so they just couldn't care. So I cannot imagine the pain the families of these victims had to go through. So Netflix did not compensate the families. Netflix did not seek permission, or at least deem it fit to inform the families of the victims before releasing this series. So someone is profiting off of people's pain, basically. I think it's different when it's a historical event, in the sense that these people are no longer alive. Maybe it happened like centuries ago. It's quite different from when the families of the victims are still alive and they get to relive the pain that they were put through. So who is profiting off of this? Who is making that money? And is it right? And now, like, as if it's not bad enough, people are making and selling, and other people are buying these Jeffrey Dahmer costumes, and then that day they're going to wear it and go trick or treating. It doesn't make any sense to me. Well, I don't know if I'll say this is a happy ending or some consolation of some sort, but Jeffrey Dahmer was eventually killed by a black man during his time in prison. His name was Christopher Scarver. He was a fellow inmate in the year 1994. I wouldn't say I believe in karma, but hearing this makes me believe, okay, maybe karma really is real, because his life got ended by the very group of people that he targeted during his terrible, miserable existence. I would like to end this video here. What do you guys think about the whole Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix? Do you think it's right that they reenacted it? I don't think there's anything wrong in them doing that, but I just feel like they should have, gotten permission of the people in question that their families were being talked about in this series. What do you guys also think about the whole Jeffrey Dahmer becoming a Halloween costume and people idolizing evil, worshiping him, creating fan accounts, and saying they don't see anything wrong in what he did? This world is crazy, y'all. I'm done talking about this. Please let me know your opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.